Right now, a diplomat sitting in a room in Qatar is trying to hammer out a framework that will literally dictate exactly how much it costs to generate an AI image on your laptop tomorrow.
It sounds kind of absurd when you put it like that, but I mean, it's completely true.
It really is. Welcome to this deep dive. If you are catching up on the world this morning, specifically looking at the global shifts happening on June 24th, 2026, it's incredibly easy to feel overwhelmed.
Oh, for sure. The news cycle right now is just relentless.
Exactly. You see a headline about semiconductor earnings, then one about Middle Eastern diplomacy, and then another about a severe weather alert in the Midwest. And they look like totally disconnected events.
Right, like they belong in completely different universes.
Yeah. So our mission today is to act as your personal filter. We are taking the morning's intelligence and tracing the causal logic from, a shipping lane in the Middle East straight into the multi-billion-dollar energy grid that powers the artificial intelligence you use every single day.
And we have a really fascinating alignment of forces today. The landscape is basically built on three massive pillars that are violently crashing into one another right now.
Okay, lay them out for us.
First, you have this highly sensitive diplomatic dance happening between the U.S. and Iran, which is being mediated by third parties.
Right.
Second, there is an unprecedented, really aggressive physical expansion of AI infrastructure that is completely upending global energy markets.
Like actually changing the physical grid.
Yes, exactly. And third, financial markets are sort of holding their collective breath. They're waiting on inflation data and enterprise earnings to prove whether this multi-trillion-dollar technological gamble is actually going to pay out.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start at the macro level with geopolitics, because before we can talk about software or data centers, we have to talk about the physical supply chains and energy markets that allow those data centers to be built in the first place.
Exactly. Everything digital sits on a physical foundation.
Right. So think of the Strait of Hormuz as the global economy's jugular vein. Even a slight change in its pulse impacts the whole body of global trade. And we are tracking negotiations moving closer to a potential framework agreement between the U.S. and Iran.
What's fascinating here is that this is not simple face-to-face meeting. It's not just people shaking hands in a room.
No, not at all. Qatar and Pakistan are serving as highly active diplomatic intermediaries. But why use this complex multi-party back-channeling instead of just sitting at a table in Geneva?
Well, direct negotiation carries immediate political risk for both sides. I mean, the optics are tough.
Oh, sure.
So by using Qatar, which holds massive financial leverage and is seen as in neutral ground, and Pakistan, which obviously is sharing a volatile border with Iran and has its own deep security interests.
They act as buffers, essentially.
Exactly. Both the U.S. and Iran can maintain plausible deniability while they hash out the technical details. And the context for this actually goes back to late May.
Right, from the archive, May 31st.
Yeah, May 31st. There was a tentative baseline agreement regarding security in the Strait of Hormuz. Because, that waterway is the choke point for a massive percentage of the world's oil supply.
It's huge.
Right. So now they are trying to turn a temporary freeze into a long-term framework. Oil-producing nations are watching this incredibly closely because energy security basically sets the baseline for the entire global economy.
Let's trace the causality here, because it's so easy for someone to hear Strait of Hormuz and tune out thinking, it only affects oil executives or something.
Which is a common misconception.
Yeah, but if there is a threat to maritime security there, or in the Pacific region where operations are concurrently happening, ships don't just stop, they reroute.
They have to keep moving.
Exactly, and suddenly a cargo ship carrying the raw materials to build a data center has to sail all the way around the Cape of Good Hope in Africa.
And that detour adds up to 14 extra days at sea.
14 days, that's a massive delay.
It is. And when you add 14 days to a voyage, you burn millions of dollars in extra bunker fuel. The freight insurance rates skyrocket because the ships are spending more time in open, potentially hostile waters.
Right.
Plus, shipping containers end up in the wrong ports, which creates a global shortage of the actual steel boxes used to move goods.
Wow, so the containers themselves become scarce.
Exactly. The cost of a single shipping container triples. And that cost, it doesn't just vanish. It is immediately passed on to the consumer buying goods at a hardware store or a grocery store.
Which feeds the exact beast the Federal Reserve is trying to kill right now, inflation.
That is the direct line. When maritime shipping is disrupted, fuel and freight costs jump. That trickles directly into the inflation data that financial markets are agonizing over this morning.
So it's all connected.
Completely. The global economy runs on traditional energy and physical trade routes. If inflation stays high because of shipping disruptions, the central banks keep interest rates high.
And when interest rates are high, borrowing billions of dollars to build experimental technology becomes incredibly expensive.
You nailed it. It tightens the belt on everything.
Which brings us to the perfect causal pivot. The skyrocketing cost of doing physical business in the world is colliding head-on with the biggest capital expenditure project in human history.
The AI build-out.
Yes, we are seeing a complete overhaul in what drives global energy demand, and it is entirely centered on artificial intelligence.
Hyperscalers, the massive cloud computing providers, are dominating the tech news landscape with these huge, large-scale data center expansions.
The numbers are staggering.
They really are. The sheer volume of this build-out is forcing analysts to dramatically revise electricity demand forecasts upward for the entire decade.
Here's where it gets really interesting, and where honestly, I have to admit some genuine confusion on my part.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've spent the last 20 years being conditioned to think of the cloud as this, invisible, magical realm of Wi-Fi. But AI is brutally physical. It requires massive amounts of land, concrete, and raw electricity.
That's the reality nobody talks about when they use their phone.
Right. Yet, if these hyperscalers have seemingly endless billions in cash, why are we constantly reading about power grid crises? I mean, why don't these tech giants just buy a massive stretch of desert in Nevada, cover it in solar panels, and power their own data centers completely off the grid?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it really comes down to the fundamental physics of how a graphics processing unit, a GPU, operates compared to your standard computer processor.
Okay, how are they different?
Well, training a massive foundation model takes months of continuous, unbroken computational effort. These GPU clusters run incredibly hot.
Like physically hot?
Yes. They require massive industrial-scale liquid cooling systems just to prevent the silicon from actually melting. So if the power dips for even a fraction of a second, just a blip, the servers crash, and you could lose days or weeks of multi-million-dollar training data.
Wait, really? A fraction of a second ruins the whole thing?
It corrupts the current training state, yeah. So it's an issue of total, absolute reliability.
Ah. And solar and wind are intermittent.
Exactly. They rely on the weather. What these AI data centers require is called baseload power. That means a massive, unyielding flat line of gigawatts flowing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, regardless of whether the wind is blowing or the sun is shining.
So the utilities are having to completely rethink grid modernization just to carry this kind of constant load.
Precisely. They have to prep for long-term power growth that they frankly weren't expecting.
That explains the sudden shift in policy support for nuclear energy. I mean, a decade ago, the tech industry wouldn't touch nuclear with a 10-foot pole for PR reasons.
Absolutely not. It was seen as too controversial.
But now they are practically begging for it.
Because nuclear fission provides exactly what AI needs. It's zero carbon, uninterruptible, massive baseload power. We are seeing a flurry of policy adjustments and investments aimed at keeping existing nuclear plants online longer.
Which is a huge reversal.
It is. And they're also accelerating the deployment of next-generation reactors.
Yeah.
Now, alongside this, there is a huge push for battery storage deployments to try and, smooth out the renewable energy curve so they can use some solar and wind.
But I'm guessing the timelines don't match up?
Not at all. The timeline mismatch is severe. It takes years to permit and build a nuclear facility or even to modernize a transmission grid. But hyperscalers, they're trying to deploy new data centers by next quarter.
So they're building the cars before the roads are paved?
Essentially, yes.
Yes.
Energy affordability and transmission bottlenecks are officially the primary speed limits on the development of artificial intelligence today. It's a huge industry concern.
So what does this all mean for the corporate ledger? Let's take a step back and look at the economics.
Okay, sure.
Because these hyperscalers are spending unprecedented amounts of money on raw land, concrete, liquid cooling infrastructure, nuclear energy contracts, and advanced semiconductors, somebody eventually has to foot that bill.
And that would be the enterprise customer.
Right. Financial markets are incredibly tense this morning, waiting on Micron's earnings report to justify these astronomical valuations. But put yourself in the shoes of a business owner for a second.
Okay, I'm a business owner.
A tech vendor tells you they've integrated AI into your software to make your team faster. Why are you suddenly pushing back? I mean, if AI makes your employees twice as productive, shouldn't you be happy to pay whatever they ask? Don't you want proof it's actually saving money?
That is exactly the shift we're seeing in today's brief. The theory of productivity is great, but the reality of enterprise budgets is unforgiving.
Right.
Business owners are realizing that AI can actually introduce massive hidden costs. Let's say your employees are using an AI coding assistant, or maybe a multimodal platform that processes text, audio, and video all at once.
Which sounds easy.
It is amazing. But every single time they ask that AI to summarize a long PDF or generate a complex piece of code, it makes an API call to those incredibly expensive data centers we just talked about.
Oh, it's a meter running in the background.
Exactly. Well, to add some friction to that idea, it's not just a meter. It's an invisible meter that the employee doesn't even see. The employee hits generate, but the CFO gets the bill.
Oh, man, that's a nightmare for accounting.
It's terrible. And because enterprise customers are pushing back against giant opaque subscription hikes, we are seeing a massive shift toward usage-based AI pricing gaining real traction.
I love that concept. Think of it like a water meter on your house.
Yes, perfect analogy.
In the early days of SaaS software, you paid a flat monthly fee to have the pipes connected to your business. But with AI, companies are saying, I refuse to pay a massive flat rate. I want a meter installed on the pipe, and I am only going to pay for the gallons of compute my employees actually draw.
That captures the transition perfectly. The market is moving out of the hype phase, where companies bought AI just to say they had it, and into the utility phase,
Where it actually has to do a job.
Right. Businesses are fiercely focused on measurable returns on investment. They want proof that spending $10,000 a month on AI compute actually saved them $15,000 in labor or operational costs.
And that completely changes how the foundation models themselves are being built, doesn't it? They aren't just competing on being the smartest anymore.
Not at all. They're competing aggressively on cost efficiency. A year ago, every company was racing to build the most massive, capable foundation model possible. Now, the engineering priority is creating smaller, highly optimized models that can do a specific task like, say, an AI coding assistant without burning immense amounts of electricity.
Because it has to make financial sense at scale.
Exactly. And this intense focus on the bottom line is also driving massive enterprise demand for AI governance tools and cybersecurity spending. Businesses desperately need dashboards to monitor what their AI is accessing, how much compute it is burning, and whether it is accidentally leaking proprietary data.
So we've traced the money from the Middle East to the data centers to the CFO's desk. But for me, the most striking part of today's intelligence brief is what happens when these godlike digital ambitions collide with our fragile physical reality.
It's a huge theme today.
We are building machines that can rewrite the global economy, yet we are still entirely at the mercy of the weather.
The contrast really is jarring. While financial markets debate AI pricing structures, severe weather threats are paralyzing transportation networks across the U.S. Midwest and the South today.
Right, the physical world is fighting back.
And simultaneously, a brutal heat wave in Europe is buckling their transportation infrastructure. You have these massive digital supply chains that can be halted because a physical train track got too hot or a highway flooded.
It brings up this fascinating concept called Moravec's paradox. It's the observation that high-level reasoning requires very little computation, but low-level sensoromotor skills require enormous computational resources.
Yes, it's so counterintuitive.
The brief highlights this perfectly in the workplace and healthcare sectors. AI is dramatically shortening drug development timelines. I mean, it can analyze the complex folding of a protein in seconds, and it's gaining broad adoption in diagnostic imaging. It is a miracle for medical science.
It really is. Yet in the exact same brief, we see that healthcare workforce shortages remain a critical crisis.
Right, we don't have the people.
Exactly. AI can discover a new pharmaceutical compound, and it can flag an anomaly on an MRI faster than a human radiologist. But AI cannot walk into a hospital room and physically turn a bedridden patient to prevent bed sores.
No.
It cannot draw blood. It cannot comfort a grieving family.
We're solving the most complex intellectual puzzles in the universe, but we're completely starved for physical human labor.
This raises an important question about the true role of technology in our daily lives. We assumed automation would replace physical labor first and leave the creative knowledge work to humans.
Which was the promise of sci-fi for decades.
Right. But the exact opposite is happening. Knowledge work automation is accelerating. Tech hiring remains incredibly selective, and employers are specifically hunting for AI-literate workers. Meanwhile, hybrid work has stabilized, but the nature of the work itself is shifting.
which is terrifying for a lot of people.
It's a huge adjustment.
But I think about it like this. Being a knowledge worker today is like being a commercial airline pilot whose company just bought a fleet of highly advanced fly-by-wire jets.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
You do not need to know how to build the jet engine. You don't need to be able to code the AI foundation model yourself. But your entire career now depends entirely on understanding how to read the new instruments, how to input the right coordinates, and how to fly the plane with the autopilot engaged.
That is the essence of the upskilling priority we're seeing across corporations. The human is no longer generating the raw output. The human is the editor, the curator, and the ultimate judge of quality.
Right, because the AI still makes mistakes.
Exactly. You need the human to look at the code the AI generated and realize, wait, this technically works, but it creates a massive security vulnerability for our specific network. Human judgment is becoming the premium skill.
And human experience is becoming the premium commodity. Look at the culture section of the intelligence we've gathered today.
The culture section is fascinating right now.
Hollywood and the music industry are desperately trying to adapt to AI tools that can instantly generate scripts, voices, and background music. The cost of digital creation is plummeting to zero.
Basically, anyone can make a song now.
Right. Yet, what is exploding in popularity, the creator economy is growing strongly, podcast audiences are huge, which, by the way, thank you for listening, and the 2026 World Cup and the summer movie season are dominating the global cultural conversation.
Consider the psychological driver behind that. When AI can generate a technically perfect pop song or a flawless digital image in 3 seconds, perfection loses its value.
That's a great point.
People don't pay for perfection anymore. They pay for the human struggle. They want to listen to 2 people hash out ideas on a podcast. They want to sit in a stadium with 60,000 other people and watch a human athlete push their physical limits, knowing they might fail.
You can't automate the collective gasp in a movie theater during the summer blockbuster season.
No, you can't.
The more digital and automated our Monday through Friday work lives become, the more aggressively we seem to seek out raw, unscripted, physical reality on the weekends.
The demand for authentic human friction is acting as a natural counterweight to our digital acceleration.
We have covered incredible ground today. We started by watching diplomatic intermediaries from Qatar and Pakistan quietly negotiate the flow of oil through the Strait of Hormuz, knowing that a single rerouted cargo ship eventually drives up the cost of borrowing money.
It's a wild chain of events.
It really is. And then we follow that money straight into the Nevada desert, where tech giants are pouring concrete and hunting for nuclear power just to keep their AI data centers from melting down. We looked at the corporate rebellion against blank check software budgets, leading to water meter-style usage pricing for AI.
The shift to utility.
Yes. And finally, we landed on the ultimate human paradox. Using supercomputers to cure diseases while struggling to staff our hospitals and flocking to the World Cup just to feel something real.
It is a phenomenal snapshot of the tension we are living through. I want to leave you with one final thought to explore on your own today.
Please do.
Today's intelligence proves that our digital ambitions are virtually limitless. We want faster AI, deeper research, and instant answers. But that limitless digital ambition is entirely tethered to a planet with strict physical limits. Limits on copper wire, on fresh water for cooling, on nuclear uranium, and on the patience of global supply chains.
Right, the physical constraints.
Exactly. So as our virtual needs continue to multiply exponentially every few months, what happens to the global economy when our software permanently outpaces our physical planet's capacity to power it?
That is the ultimate bottleneck, isn't it? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope we gave you the mechanical understanding to look past the noise and see the structural forces actually shaping your world today. Keep questioning the causality behind the headlines, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.